Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone joining us. We are going to get started with our mentorship seminar. We are from the Framingham-Natick Toastmasters, a Toastmasters club here in the western suburbs of Massachusetts in the United States. Jonathan Shapiro, who has put on this seminar, is doing it as part of a high-performance leadership. Really, he's doing almost two projects. He's trying to jumpstart a robust mentorship program within our club, and then also put on this amazing seminar to help talk about what mentorship is, mentorship skills, and the importance of mentorship.
As Nate said, initially, I was interested in completing my HPL, High Performance Leadership Award. What happened was I was part of a committee I helped out the person who was doing the mentoring. I sort of relieved her functions, helped her out. Now, I have to say, I appreciate the fact that Nate allowed me to do the structured mentoring program, but also I have gained passion in doing it. I mean, originally it was for an award, but now I just enjoy doing it. I didn't really know how to get started because I started in April myself. I wasn't that familiar with all the members. The way I started it was by sending out a survey to every member to find out who was interested in mentoring and who wanted to be mentored. And I kept a structured list of the different people on my own computer.
To me, mentoring is really just the task of helping. People come up and ask for advice. Now, as Jonathan mentioned, I actually created bumper stickers that creates my motto that I hope a lot of people in the club can use. My motto is breathe, smile, pause, speak, repeat. What does that mean? Breathe. Take that deep breath before you're about to go onto the stage or onto the virtual stage. Helps collect your thoughts. Smile. What that smile does is it shows confidence, even if you are shaking in your boots while you're getting ready to speak. Pause. Did you know that a pause is a legal ah or If people, instead of using the word, just did a pause, created some silence, it allows the audience to still focus on them, and it allows the speaker to collect his or her thoughts. And of course, the most important part is to speak. Now, during that speaking, you can go back and repeat all of the previous things that you had before. If you're starting to get stuck, take a deep breath, smile, and pause while you collect your thoughts. The beauty of mentoring is it's not just mentoring the speaker. It's mentoring the person. It's mentoring and fostering the friendship that you can have. Breathe, smile, pause, speak, repeat.
Thank you, Jonathan. Pleasure to be here. I'm so excited to see this happen. As Jonathan said in his introduction, I have not had a formal mentor relationship here in Toastmasters. So why am I here on this panel and on this? Well, I think it's because as president of the club, I am officially mentored by my immediate past president and the president before that. They're both highly involved in our club. One of them is even sitting on our panel today. And both of them have continued to offer feedback and encouragement as I take over this club and try and find a direction that makes sense for our club. So I have been mentored. And I do mentor. As president of the club, it is my job to sort of set the tone for the club. And in our club, our previous presidents, Ginny and Maria, who's here today in our audience, have set the club tone as one where we are very enthusiastic about each other. We are very supportive of each other. And it creates a very comfortable environment in which when somebody offers feedback, people know that they're not sort of attacking them, or they're not sort of looking down at them, that they generally know that we as Toastmasters are here on the same journey. Whatever path we're taking, we're on the journey to be better leaders and better public speakers. And so anything that can be helped, we look at all of that criticism and that feedback as gifts. They're gifts to what we are trying to do and where we're trying to go. But there's another role that a mentor fills. When you join Toastmasters, having never been part of a club, never been part of this organization, it can be a little overwhelming. But it has been just such a journey. But I do feel that I would have been better served to have somebody officially that I could go to help me navigate what is Toastmasters International. And so I think of mentoring, and what I would like to see going forward in our club is having mentorship be of two roles. The mentor is the role that helps you with your goals in public speaking and leadership, and the mentor is that person who brings you into the club and makes you feel part of the club and like you know what's going on. So one of the things Jonathan did when he started taking over as our mentorship coordinator, which I am hoping to institute as a permanent role within our club that will serve alongside our committees and leadership committee members, is a mentorship coordinator who will assign automatically upon people's entering into our club a mentor.
I've been in Toastmasters for around 6 years, and I have to say the Fun Club had such a interesting idea about the mentor coordinator. I mean, in many clubs, it might be responsibility of the VP of Ed or the VP of membership. But what would happen is these positions would be so overwhelming. The mentorship is a great idea, but it's been totally ignored. It's no one's fault. Also, I've been a member of, instead of being on leadership, they have committees, which actually helps the leadership. And it's given me the opportunity not only to work on my high performance leadership program, but also institute a mentoring program, which I really appreciate.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to Jonathan and his team for getting this presentation put together. In the new lexicon of Toastmasters, protege is replacing mentee, as you heard a lot today. And in preparing for this talk, I was reminded that a protege is someone that learns from someone else that is performing in the role of mentor, even if that person doesn't know it. Sophocles in his Greek tragedy Antigone said, "The ideal condition would be that men should be right by instinct, but since we are all likely to go astray, the reasonable thing is to learn from those who can teach." He knew that if we seek help from knowledgeable and experienced people, we can achieve our goals faster and avoid making mistakes and wasting valuable time. So what is a mentor? Such knowledgeable and experienced people are called mentors. They can be found everywhere. Think about your work. Was there someone who helped you get started in your career? Offering advice and guidance, showing you how things worked and how to get things done? My first job when I was growing up was a paperboy. Did I know what that was about? Sure. At a high level, I knew that a paperboy delivers papers to people. But how is that done? I was shown how it was done by someone that knew how to do it. Who was that? Another paperboy. Exactly. He knew how to do it, and he showed me how to do it. A mentor is a person who takes a personal interest and helps an inexperienced person, the protege, learn how to do things. They serve as a role model, a coach, a confidant. They offer knowledge and insight and perspective and useful wisdom to a protege. And helping someone become successful and learns new skills themselves. So as you're learning, as you're mentoring, you're learning new skills. Now, one set of mentors that we tend to discount are our parents. They were always there teaching and guiding us through our early years, helping us learn right from wrong and correcting us when we were wrong. But they learned new skills as they were mentoring us. How do we know that? If you were the firstborn in your family, you may recall that your sibling was treated differently than you, and I submit that was largely based on lessons that your parents learned when they were raising you. Going back to what a protege-mentor relationship is, that is a person learning with help from another person, it becomes very apparent that every Toastmaster meeting where we have speakers and those speakers and speeches are evaluated helps all attendees learn how to be better speakers and give better presentations. The protege has to be comfortable discussing what it is they want to get out of the relationship, and it is up to the mentor to help establish that level of comfort as they learn what it is the protege wants or needs mentoring on.
Ellen Supanek is our moderator.
I'd like to start mentoring in the future, but I'm not sure whether it's appropriate to speak about my personal life with a mentee, or should the relationship be kept strictly professional? Is it appropriate for a mentee to ask a mentor's personal questions, such as are you married? What's the appropriate balance?
It's only appropriate if you feel comfortable. So for instance, if they are asking that question because they might be interested in dating you or getting to know you better than just as a Toastmaster, the answer is probably not. That's something you can work out outside of Toastmasters. I believe that if it's going to help the mentor-mentee relationship, if a particular question comes up, like they might say, I want to tell a story about my wife or my husband. Then you can give them a personal reflection on speeches you have done about your partner. Like, the most important thing is that you learn stuff from the mentee to help them make their speeches better. And it doesn't necessarily need to be their personal life, although usually the icebreaker is a story about themselves and their family. You just help them walk through the process.
Nate, go ahead.
Well, I mean, speaking of personal life, I just think that part of, Toastmasters does get very personal. We're sharing personal stories. And so getting to know the person for who they are can be really helpful, as Arnie had said. Of course,
I find mentoring difficult because I don't trust my sense of what guidance the mentee needs. I feel that I over or underreact to a need. Anyone got any feedback for that? Joe.
Yeah, not knowing what the mentee needs really comes down to that initial time when you sit down with the mentee and ask them, what do you want out of this relationship? Establish comfort, find out what they want, and then you can figure out what path you need to help them on. Do they want to get better at, and like in our club, we have a lot of people that are English is not their primary language. Do they want to get better at speaking English? Maybe the answer is yes, maybe the answer is no, but at least at that point, you can then have a point to start with. And then you get down to things like with Jenny had when one person says, well, do you want me to correct your grammar? One says, great. The other one says, nah, not so much. So, have the conversation with your protege. And if it's a comfortable relationship, and as you make it more comfortable and more open, they will expand upon what it is they're looking to get out of the relationship of a mentor-mentee.
I have a long-standing phone phobia. It's easier for me to reach out via email or Zoom rather than just calling via a cell phone, when a 2-minute phone call might be the easiest solution. Anyone got any suggestions? for someone with a phone phobia? Nate.
As a fellow phone phobiast who is an elder millennial who doesn't like speaking on the telephone, sometimes I will do is I will rely on some of those other communication modes that I'm more comfortable with, say email or phone, but it's easy to type in, "You can call me," because when they call you, then you have to answer the phone. And that definitely makes it a little bit easier. But sometimes I also know that if the phone call is the way to go and I can rationalize it in my head, then I know, okay, so I take my cell phone and I put it down and I bring up their information and I practice what I'm going to say. "Hi, how are you?" Or, "Hey, it's Nate," or whatever your opening is going to be. Just like you would practice a speech in Toastmasters, practicing a phone call, not the worst thing to do if you're a phone phobiast. But Arnie is not a phone phobic, so he called me, which made it easy for me. So yeah, my takeaway would be to have the person reach out to you. It's easier to force yourself to answer that phone, or take the Toastmasters speech approach and get it all ready and practice your speech and then go do it.
Now that we have Zoom is very helpful. One of the things you can do with Zoom, for instance, with your mentor-mentee relationship is they can ask questions, but you can also have them practice their speech with you on Zoom. And you can make suggestions as they give their practice of their speech.
How do you resolve different mentoring styles in the same club? And actually that relates to a question we got online that someone says, what if you don't relate to your mentor and you'd like to have someone else? How do you handle a situation like that?
I think that what should happen is that the mentee should contact the club president or the VP of Ed maybe, or the mentor leader, and say, "I'm having an issue." And then that person should set up a three-way meeting with the mentor to try to find out what the issues are. And if there's something the mentor can do to correct his or her approach to things, or just say, "It's okay, I give up. I don't have to be the mentor," and let somebody else take it. Because in that way, the mentor learns that their style of mentoring, at least with that person, is not working.
I agree with that. I think two people don't necessarily get along, and if it's not working out, by all means, switch up the relationship would be my advice. But anyone else want to add to that?
I think having a designated mentor coordinator will be helpful with that. Leaving it to the VPE or the president, I think there's a lot on the plates of the different leadership roles. And in our club, we really focused, actually thanks to Ginny, really pushed the committees to put committees together to try and get more done. And I was pushing for, to have this mentorship coordinator be an ongoing thing, because that allows somebody who's very focused on the mentorship program to check in with those kind of things and be able to lead those mediations, is the way Arnie was talking about it, having a designated person. And so it shows just in our club how important the mentorship part of it really we want it to be.
Next one, anyone have any takeaways from the Toastmasters International's mini pathway on mentoring? Yeah, I've done some work on it, and I find it's an interesting one. It makes you think about what you're doing, both short-term and long-term. So it's a good program. I highly recommend you take a look at it. Next question is, can you be successful if you're not mentored?
You can absolutely be successful if you're not mentored. If you are comfortable getting up in front of a group of people and saying something, speaking. In fact, we've talked about speeches, but we haven't talked about the other roles. A timer, an eye counter, a grammarian. You can take on one of those roles so you can practice speaking. You don't need to be mentored, although it can help you. And sometimes you're mentored without even knowing it, as Joe has spoken. So the important thing is if you think you need some help, helping you build your confidence. I'm going to talk about this when another question comes up that I saw in the chat. By all means, don't be mentored. And then you can always ask for a mentor if you need help. Or just chat with someone and say, "Hey, Arnie, what do you think of this speech?" And I'll give you some help. You're being mentored without it being official.
There's a related question. Someone says, what if the people in your club aren't that motivated and don't want a mentor? Anyone got any suggestions for that?
Well, first off, if you're in the club and you join Toastmasters, you are somewhat motivated. You might not feel it, but you're motivated. So practice in the table topics. Take on the timer role. Take on some other roles where your speaking is not pre-writing it. It's automatic at that meeting. It just happens.
Yeah, I would echo what Arnie said, that if people are there, they're definitely motivated. Sometimes an unmotivated, what might look like unmotivation is really unsure of what to do. You know, and that's why, like with, you know, our club, and as I talked about in my speech, that there's two sort of roles for a mentor. One being helping towards goals, but one is also sort of how do you, you know, acclimate to the club.
The more positive you make it, the faster they grow. We had a clarification on this one. The person asking said, sorry, my question may be misunderstood. I was asking if you could be just as successful without a mentor, not if you could be successful without a mentor.
And the answer is you can.
I think you can be just as successful with or without a mentor, but you can't be successful without the feedback that Toastmasters International has built into the club. And again, having sort of a mentor-focused club can be really helpful, because then people are always thinking about how to give feedback. As the people in my club will say, you did a good job, you tried hard, here's how that might be successful, or here's some feedback. And I usually walk away from even the worst speeches that I've given feeling like I can do this.
Thank you. Yeah, safe place to fail. And I've learned the most in my experience from some of my worst speeches. Why did they fail? And thinking about that. So yeah, this is the place to go. Your job's not on the line if you do a bad job. A question of what can teenagers do to get experience with Toastmasters? There's gavel clubs that can be done for teenagers. There's also a youth leadership program, a youth craft speaking program. And if you ask around, you can probably talk someone in a local club to offering that, but you'd need to have 18 or 20, a half dozen or so people, and find someone who's interesting to offer. Is there a mandatory duration for mentorship? And I can say that for the old program, the formal mentorship program was 3 speeches, after which you could re-up. But in order to get credit for mentoring someone, you had to mentor them for 3 speeches. And for your DTM, you had to mentor somebody for their first 3 speeches. So there's a formal one, but of course you can re-up after each time. I had someone that we re-upped over and over again for 4 years. Well, during that time, she gave 50 or 60 speeches. Someone says, I've been afraid to join Toastmasters because I'm not good at writing and speaking. I'm almost embarrassed speaking. Would it be beneficial for me to look for a club?
I would definitely recommend Toastmasters 100% for anybody who is interested in either public speaking or leadership skills. It really does help. And I definitely feel much more comfortable in front of a group, whether it's on Zoom or in person. And right now it's a great opportunity to take advantage of joining clubs with the pandemic is not a great thing, but for us as Toastmasters, it's forced us onto this Zoom, which means driving to clubs is not really part of the experience at the moment. And it looks like it's going to be that way for a while. So joining any club, obviously I think I would encourage you to find a club near you, but at this time, joining any club is a great way to just get involved. And, we've put some information in the chat. Lisa's been putting the information for our club in the chat. We welcome anybody who is here today who would like to come and join the fun club, either as a guest or join even for just a short period of time until we go back to live meetings, no matter where in the world you are, if you'd like to do that.
I'm going to say that what you should do to the person who asked that question is join a remote club like ours right now during pandemic time. You can practice because we don't know you. We'll never probably have lunch with you. Take on the roles of timer, counter, practice just speaking. But I highly suggest that once the pandemic ends and we start meeting in person, that you definitely join a club where you are actually at the meeting physically with the people. You won't believe how when you say something, give a small speech, and you get your feedback, because we haven't talked about the fact that when you give a speech, there's an evaluation, and the feedback is not critical, it's informative. Things you did well, gifts that you can use to speak better, how amazing you feel when someone says, Alexander, you did this great thing. So join a remote club and then join the club in your area.
Yeah, I'd had just join a club. It looks like we'll be in a hybrid mode as the COVID winds down. So remote clubs will probably work for a while. But yeah, meeting face to face eventually would be nice. One of my other clubs, we have somebody from California and someone from Florida in there right now. So
we say join a club and you'll learn how to speak in front of people. And they assume when you join a club, it's all strangers. Well, after you've been going for a while, they're not strangers anymore. It's like you're sitting down across a coffee table and you're talking to your friends. So that angst from talking to strangers gets moderated a whole lot, and you become much more comfortable at just talking to people because now your whole club is your friends. And then when you go out and talk in front of strangers, because they really are strangers, then you're a little more relaxed because you've worked through that angst piece and gotten comfortable at learning how to speak in front of people that have become your friends.
Thank you, Joe. I have a couple of questions I'd like to throw at the panel. We've talked about this a little bit, but anyone want to talk formally about, we've been focusing on mentoring people for speeches, but how about mentoring people for extemporaneous speaking or for other roles in the club? I have had people join Toastmasters. They were just interested in extemporaneous speaking. And so I just mentored them between meetings. Every time they got up and spoke, encouraged them to be Toastmaster or general evaluator, because you get to do a little bit of extemporaneous speaking between each speech, or every time somebody else talks, you get to do a little bit of extemporaneous speaking. So you can do a lot of mentoring for that. And also as a mentor, you should also be mentoring people on how do you be timer, how do you be off counter, those kinds of things. Somebody pointed out to me early on that mentoring is not just the formal program. Whenever you give an evaluation of somebody, wait until they get their next speech and think of something that you suggested to them. And if they made a dramatic improvement on them, go and say, hey, Jonathan, that speech you gave, your gestures were 3 times better than the last time I saw you give a speech. What a great improvement. And it doesn't even have to be you that gave the last speech, but look out for everybody around you and the progress that they're making, and go up and just give them a little nudge, a little attaboy, a little bit of a pat on the back whenever you can, and turn mentoring into something that you just do all the time with the people around you. And with that, I'd like to thank everybody for showing up today.
This HPL was really 2 projects in one. He's creating a mentorship program in our club and making it more formal, but he has also created this, with the help of his team, this amazing seminar that has reached out far and beyond just our club. So maybe we could all unmute and a round of applause.
You know, I think the panelists did a fantastic job. The moderator did a fantastic job. I think we answered everybody's question today. And I just hope that there are a lot of people who want to visit the Fun Club, because it is fun. Or as actually, we're the Framingham-Natick Club, but I think it's the best club around.